Hello and welcome back to Harlan is in Danger. I'm your host, Tom, and I'm joined as always by my good friend and co-host, Mitch.
Hello, I'm also here, and today we're going to be talking about the player cards from Before the Black Throne. This is it. This is the last player card review for the cycle. Let's jump into it.
All right, so starting off with the Guardian cards, we have 3 cards this time because one of them is a bonded card. So first off, we have Hollowed Mirror, which is a 2-cost item, relic, and occult, and blessed asset that takes up the accessory slot. It commits for a willpower icon and has the text limit 1 per deck. Forced after Hollowed Mirror enters play, search your bonded cards for 3 copies of Soothing Melody, add 1 of them to your hand, and shuffle the other 2 into your deck. When Hollowed Mirror leaves play, find each of those copies of Soothing Melody, even if they are out of play, and remove them from the game. I'll then read Soothing Melody, I guess, because it's kind of important to evaluate that card. So this is a 0-cost, non-level event. It's a bonded event. It commits for everything but a combat, and has the trait Spell in the text Bonded, Hollowed Mirror, heal 2 damage or 2 horror or any combination thereof from among investigators and or ally assets at your location. Draw 1 card.
It surprises me how well received Hollowed Mirror is, and I concur with it. It's actually a very good card.
Yeah, it was like just good healing. Turns out, like, I don't know. It's so interesting. You're right, though, because it is like 2 actions to heal 2 damage or 2 horror.
Mm-hmm.
For the first one. But then, like, it gets better. There's something about that that's like, I don't know. It's so interesting because I don't feel like it's action positive until you've played like 3.
Mm-hmm.
And then at that point, you're done with it until they shuffle back into your deck. But for some reason, like, I like playing Soothing Melodies, and I don't really consider the cost of paying 2 resources and an action to play Hollowed Mirror a part of the cost of Soothing Melody. But it is.
It totally is.
It just it's tricked me. It's like tricked me a little bit, I think.
Yeah. I don't know exactly what the magic is of this card, but something about it is so much more appealing. I mean, like, to be fair, it is the best kind of healing you want. It heals 2, and you get to pick whether or not it's damage or horror, and you can disperse it how you like. You could also target allies.
Yeah.
And it's among investigators and or allies at your location. So you can heal, like, 1 off of your ally and then 1 off of an investigator at your location, and it could be whatever you want. And then it just replaces itself. The card does.
The replacing itself is definitely like the secret sauce that I think makes this card sing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was one healing card I remember that came up in Mystic, and it was like an event. It's in the Edge of the Earth box. I can't remember what it was, though. It's like 2 costs, though, and you get to heal 2 or something like that. But it's not like you can't choose, like, allies. You can't choose. I think you could choose an investigator. I don't think it has to be yourself. But you can't do allies. And it's just like, I don't know, for whatever reason, that was just like, not enough. In fact, a lot of Mystic healing is pretty bad. Like, you'll have spells where it's like an asset, and then it's actions, and then you're healing 1 and 1 and 1. And this is just so much better. Like, yeah, you don't get it necessarily right away, but, like, I don't know.
You don't need healing right away, typically. Like, that's... And actually, you do kind of get it right away, because you put 1 in your hand, so it's like 2 actions, again, to do it, to right away healing, but... Yeah, I don't know. It's definitely, like, actually okay healing. But I think, like, the thing for me, rather than being like, oh, well, this is the healing we needed all along, is like when I break this down, I'm like, actually, the healing we have isn't too bad. It's just a little bit undertuned. Like, this is just tuned up a little bit more, and it feels good to play. So, yeah.
I guess because for everything you invest, you're constantly getting something back. Like, when you play Hollowed Mirror, you get 1 in your hand, so it replaces itself immediately. Yeah. And now you have a card. And, you know, it's like, it's only committing for 1 icon. Yeah, but it's like you have it and you have the option, so it's like it's giving you something right now, which feels good.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you play Soothing Melody, it'll draw another card. So you're always like, even if you didn't need the healing that much, it's like, well, I have a moment, maybe I'll just recover.
Yeah. Yeah. No, yeah, it's a good card. I think it's a good card. I think
And the limit one per deck isn't a problem either for whatever reason, because you don't care about healing that much.
Yeah, I think that's weirdly like maybe that's the lesson that we should all take from like Hollowed Mirror is like you don't have to take two of your healing cards. Like if you are in Mystic and you take like healing words or whatever, just take it as a one of because you won't necessarily need it, and then if you do need it, you can find it, right? Like that's what Hollowed Mirror has taught us.
Yeah, that's a good point.
All right, next healing card is I've Had Worse level 2, which is a 0 cost level 2 event that's spirit traded and commits for a willpower and an agility, has the dex fast, play when you are dealt damage and or horror, cancel up to 2 of that damage and or horror just dealt to you, then gain that many resources.
Yeah, this is the less intense version because there's a level 4 version in Done, which I think, right?
That does I think 4 damage and or horror and gain that many resources.
Yeah.
It might be 5 even.
Which is just so excessive. You don't need that much. 2 is plenty.
This is definitely like the one that I play with. Because I don't think I usually take. Granted, like it would be cool and feel pretty fun to just take like 5 damage or horror and just be like, no, I don't actually. I get money instead. But don't.
Who's dealing you that much damage in one hit?
And like, who's dealing you that much damage in one hit that you aren't like don't have another solution to?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's I think the harder part with it. I think there's like a world in which I'd play the level 4 version, like, but it's something that I would be like, I'm setting out to play this level 4 version and get the most out of it. I'm playing an investigator that wants to get attacked until they don't. I'm building around this idea of being a Thorns deck, and I am constantly tangoing with big monsters in the campaign that I'm in. For everything else, there's I've Had Worse too, which is just good and so much more widely usable.
Yep.
And
it's like a dodge, but it gives you money.
It's an economy card secretly. That's great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's awesome. And like Guardians need economies really bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say about it. It's pretty much perfect. The upgrade is really just icing on the cake if you have nothing else to do with your experience. This is all you need.
Yeah, because even if you took like, let's say a 2 damage and 2 horror hit from an enemy, like a boss or whatever, which it would have to be a boss for that much, you could just take 2 and then play this to absorb the other 2.
Yeah.
And then heal it. So it doesn't.
Yeah. Then play your Soothing Melody and you're fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to secret cards.
Secret cards.
I'll let you read these ones.
Okay, so we've got Occult Lexicon, Blood Right, and Glimpse the Unthinkable. So Occult Lexicon is a 2-cost asset, commits for a book icon. It's item, tome, and occult traded, takes up a hand slot, and it's limit 1 per deck. Forced after Occult Lexicon enters play, search your bonded cards for 3 copies of Blood Right, add 1 to your hand, and shuffle the other 2 into your deck. When Occult Lexicon leaves play, find each of the other copies of Blood Right, even if they are out of play, and remove them from the game. And then Blood Right, because we need this for context, is a 0-cost event. It commits for everything except a foot. It's a spell traded, and it's bonded Occult Lexicon. It has the text, draw 2 cards. Discard up to 2 cards from your hand. For each card thusly discarded, you may either gain 1 resource or spend 1 resource to deal 1 damage to an enemy at your location. This action does not provoke attacks of opportunity. I've played this one much less, but I do actually like it. This is like a damage dealing card in Seeker that I actually approve of.
Agreed. That's literally my my take on it. Is like this is kind of how I want to see Seeker damage. I like things like I've Got a Plan as well. I like the card in I think it's Scarlet Keys that has the Grey's Anatomy that lets you like do research on an enemy to do more damage to the next time they take damage. But I think this was one of the ones that I was just like, oh, this is good. This is what we needed in this is the way to deal damage in Seeker. It feels uniquely Seeker, but it still feels like I don't know, not like you have to be spending a lot of resources to make the damage work. You can just use it to
Yeah.
discard, to draw and discard cards. You can just use it as economy. It feels like it has like enough options to make things work, but also like most of the time I've seen this played, it's played to deal damage.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the thing about it is it's limit one per deck, so it's like a rare tome in your library.
Yeah.
So that's cool. That makes it more like this secret grimoire that you discovered. So the theme is definitely working for it.
Mm-hmm.
And then like you're having to discard your cards, which is like the seeker's main resource. They love their cards. So the fact that they have to spend that and money to deal the damage, and then the damage is limited to two, means it's just for dealing with like whippoorwills or ghouls or like your basic low level enemies. In case the seeker's in real trouble, they can do, this kind of splash out of nowhere to save themselves.
Yeah.
But it's not for like taking down bosses. It's not for dealing with real big monsters or VP enemies. It's just for like the low level stuff to keep them alive. So that's like why I'm like, okay, yeah, this fits. It's appropriate. And they kind of like once they've cast it, the blood right, then they have to find the rest of the blood rights in order to do that consistently.
Yeah.
So they're still having to lean into all the seeker mechanics in order to make this happen.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah.
I think like the one thing I'm going to complain about is actually not it, but other cards. This doesn't have the non-elite clause for dealing damage to enemies it just says you can deal damage to enemies, and I want more cards that do 1 or 2 damage to not have the non-elite clause. Like that is something that I like. Let us just do 1 or 2 damage to elite enemies. Like it works with blood right. It's good. This should be like the standard. Is like if you're only going to be able to do 1 or 2 damage, just it's okay. It can work on elites as well. That's all right. They have more health than that.
Yeah, you're right. That makes a lot of sense. You're only doing a little bit of support, so why does it need to be so restrictive?
And that's not a complaint about this card. It's a complaint about other cards that have that text.
Yeah.
Because here's a card that shows that it doesn't break the game when you don't put non-elite only on a card, right? So yeah.
It's a good point. Yeah.
Sorry, off my pedestal.
Well, you ready for Glimpse the Unthinkable?
Yeah.
Okay, so Glimpse the Unthinkable. This is a 5 XP event. It costs 1. It has 3 intellect icons. It's the Insight traded. And it has the text, shuffle any number of non-weakness cards from your hand into your deck. Draw cards until you reach your maximum hand size. Remove Glimpse the Unthinkable from the game.
This is such a cool, splashy card that I never play.
Yeah. Weirdly, it's because of the 1 resource, isn't it?
I don't know why it is. I think it's because like whenever I see this card, like my very min-maxy side of my brain is like, ooh, how big can I get my maximum hand size? And then like that's not really worth it. Like it's not worth like throwing like a bunch of other like cards that increase your hand size. Like this should be, like draw 4 or 5. Like, and that's cool. Just shuffle some cards into your deck that you don't want, and then fill up to hand size, and that's like honestly enough. But for me, for some reason, every time I think about playing it, I'm like, I'll put lab assistance in. I'll put the what is it? The thing that like gives you an extra book slot that takes up an arcane slot and increases your hand size by 1.
Arcane
enlightenment,
something or other. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, whatever that one. And then
it's
like
the Harvey Walters card.
The Harvey Walters card. And then, like, by the time I start doing that, I'm like, oh, I actually have enough draw. I don't need Glimpse the Unthinkable anymore, right? So this is weirdly one of those things that I feel like because it's uncapped, it gets less play because you think, like, oh, I could draw my entire deck, and you don't need to.
Yeah. Well, it's not necessarily just drawing your entire deck. It's also, like, correcting your hand.
Yeah.
So, like, if you've got 4 cards and you're like, and this is one of them, and you don't like the other 3, it's like, I'm just going to shuffle them all in and then just draw up to 8.
Draw up to 8.
Then you're drawing 8 cards. I mean, like, sure, you had, 4 to begin with, so you're technically only drawing 4 new ones. Or 7, or what is that? I don't know, whatever.
A number.
It's less than that because you it's a number because you shuffled some stuff in. But like that was stuff you didn't want. So now like maybe you get 1 or 2 of those back, but you're still getting like a net positive of like doubling your hand at that point.
Yeah.
So yeah, the math is there. I don't like the resource cost. That's the thing that pisses me off about this card.
I don't care at all about the
It's
resource cost.
it only costs 1, but every time I see that, I'm just like, I'm not gonna spend a resource on you. You should just help me fix my hand. I spent 5 XP. Now you have to like, you have to do just a little bit more.
Seeker cards don't. Normally, Seeker cards don't cost a lot of resources. I don't know. Like, this is something that I'm like, I always have resources in Seeker, so I don't care. Yeah, I'll throw the 1 at it. Like, this is a powerful effect. Fixing my hand is a powerful effect.
Yeah,
it's just
just like, when I draw up my whole hand, I want all my money to play all of those cards. But it's like
I see.
Well, it's just like, it's the same problem that you have though, where you're like, I don't need more than 8, but I want more than 8 because it feels more worth it that way. I feel the same way about this. It's like, I don't need that extra resource. I want that extra resource in case I happen to need it to play something that I just drew.
So if I can summarize this a little bit, our problem with this card is that it's fair and we feel like we can do more.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. No, I like this card. I want to play this card more. That's something that I'm like this is one that I'm kind of excited to have in the pool because I think I want to play an actual Seeker here pretty soon, and maybe this will be the card that I kind of break out with that.
I think what tends to happen is you build a deck that you like. It's full of cards that you like, and so the thought of throwing this in, you're looking at it going, why would I want that? It's like, I'm probably going to want all the cards that are already in my hand. Mm-hmm. Like, would it still be worth it if you just spent 1 to draw 4? Because it's not fast.
What is Cryptic Research, the card in the core set? That's like a fast, draw 3.
That's 4 XP, 0 fast, draw 3, yeah.
Yeah, so I feel like 1 resource, not fast, draw 4 is a little bit worse than that. I think I mean, like, in like the idea, the good part about this card is to fix your hand, right? The good part is to be able to say like, no, I don't need this card really. I don't really want this card. I'm in a situation that's a little bit problematic. I know there's cards in my deck that'll help me with that situation. Let me just get rid of these cards that don't help. Maybe I'll draw some of them again, but I will draw hopefully one of the cards that does help, right?
Yeah.
And I think that it scratches a different itch than Cryptic Research, I think. Like, Cryptic Research is just draw 4 cards, you cycle your deck faster. You get your kind of Seeker stupid combo stuff done more. And this is more about, like, I feel like this is more about versatility, right? It's less about consistency.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you can see how it's a little bit, like, because it costs you an action and then you're filling up your hand size, now you need to play something so you don't discard something. And I'm sure that you can, but it's sort of like, this is your turn, playing this, fixing your hand, fixing your whole situation. Whereas with Cryptic Research, it's just so much more convenient. I could throw that down at literally any conceivable moment and then get more cards to deal with my problem.
I'm not going to argue that Cryptic Research is a better card, because I agree Cryptic Research is probably a better card. I just think that there are situations, and it's a different kind of play pattern to play a card like this, knowing that you need a certain card and you can dig deeper for that card.
You can.
And that's also more appealing to me. That's kind of more my style that I like to play, is like being a little bit more flexible. So
yeah. I also would encourage you to go with a bigger hand with this card, because I think the payoff will be worth it more.
Probably.
Because I mean, think of it. You could tutor up, like, theoretically, like 10 or 12 cards.
Yeah.
That'd be crazy.
Yeah, that's true. And maybe I will still do that. Maybe I'll still do a lab assistant deck and just like go to, or maybe like actually Dream Enhancing Serum with this card would be pretty good, eh?
Oh wow, yeah, that's crazy.
Because you don't need more. You wouldn't need any more like fixing with that. Yeah, I think that's how I would do it. Yeah, that'd be a real big hand deck.
Yeah, crazy.
Okay, cool.
All right, what's next?
I've decided on my next Seeker deck. Perfect. Next we have the Mystic cards, which are gonna be boring to talk about because we've already talked about them so much. But it's Wither and Sixth Sense, level 4 each. The level 4 Wither costs 2. and commits for 2 combat icons, has the spell trait, and takes up an arcane slot. Text is action, fight. This attack uses willpower instead of combat, and you get +2 willpower for this attack. If a skull, cultist, tablet, or elder thing symbol is revealed during this attack, the attacked enemy gets -1 fight, -1 health, and -1 evade for the remainder of the turn to a minimum of 1. I like this version of Wither a little bit. Not like enough.
Yeah, it's not.
But a little bit.
No, again, it's not enough because you're spending 4 XP and you're not dealing 2 damage. You're sort of almost dealing 2 damage.
Yeah.
And it's only when you're getting the token. Now, if you get that special token pull and it's a 2 health enemy, you can subtract their health immediately and then deal 1 damage and kill them.
Yes.
So it can work, but and so you kind of read the -1 health and you're like, yes, it's working, and then you go back up and you're like, wait, I need one of those symbol tokens, dang it.
So it gets -1 health until the end of the turn. So as long as you are able to pass 1 test, you can do that as the -1 health for the rest of the turn, right? Or pass 1 test and draw a symbol, I guess, right? If you just draw a symbol, well, even if you just draw a symbol, right? Like it's -1 health. If it's a 2 health enemy, it has 1 health for the rest of the turn. If it's a 1 health enemy and you draw a symbol, too bad. Like, yeah, that doesn't do anything, but hopefully you just passed at that.
But that wouldn't have mattered anyways.
Yeah. That's the thing that's like weirdly, I think, better about this version of Wither than it reads, is like, for the most part, it kind of can still deal the 2 damage. And if you're only really caring about 1 damage, then just pass, and it gives you the ability to do that. It's just that it still resets at the end of every turn, and suddenly you're kind of behind.
Yeah. If you hit this guy, like if you hit a 3 health enemy, you deal 1 damage, and you don't get the symbol, and then you attack again, you miss, and then you attack a 3rd time, and you deal 1 damage, no symbol. Well, it's more like, I don't know, it's basically like, as long as you get the symbol once, you're fine.
That's all you need.
Because you should be able to. If you get it once, then his fight value goes down as well. So now you're like +3 to the test.
Yeah.
So he should go down with you just spamming this in his face.
Yeah, eventually.
I don't know why
It's just yeah, and like honestly, comparing it to something like the level 3 Shrivelings or the level 3 Azure Flames or whatever, like it's pretty okay because it doesn't have a downside for you drawing a certain token. It only has upside, but like nice. It's still like it's an extra level. Like I really do feel like this card could have been level 3, and we could have been like, that's the one. That's good. This is on the same level as like a lot of the other level 3 attack spells, but it is an extra level, and I think it really feels that. Like extra level. I don't know. It's so not quite there to me. I think it's okay. I kind of like it. But
what
I
does
like
it need?
Another asset to deal with enemies, or for your role not to be the main fighter. That's what it needs.
So you think this is good if you're like a seeker who's not dedicated to fighting and you just throw it in on the occasional combat thing?
Yeah, so like I would play this in someone who is like a mystic clover, basically, that has like a spare arcane slot because like they're, I don't know, Norman or Marie, who have like near very similar intellect and willpower stats, and they don't necessarily need to rely solely on having like a 6th sense out. They can just like have a couple clue spells and then use their intellect.
Yeah, I think I'd be willing to try this one, just because as I was running through the math in my head, I'm like, I guess if you were fighting an enemy and he had 3 health and you used this 3 times and you didn't get the symbol once, or you got the symbol on the last test, that would be the worst. Because then it's like you're just dealing 1 damage every turn and you're slowly chipping away at him until he dies, and it's my whole turn to deal with the problem. But assuming you got the symbol once, like you need to be playing with like Olive McBride, I think, or something like that to
Yeah.
make sure that you're pulling that symbol. Then if you as long as you can guarantee at least one hit with that, then I don't mind a second attack. I mean, it sucks a little bit, but if I'm like Agnes or something, I can do my extra damage my own way, and then I don't need to. That's more reliable. So I guess I could. I hate the random chance of having to get the symbol token
Yeah.
because if you don't get it, I don't know. Like you're not wrong that if you're just supporting and you're going around killing whippoorwills or something like that with this, like weaker enemies, it's not a big deal. It would probably be fine like a big group. But if it's like one or two player, I just don't think you can afford to take
Yeah.
risks with something like this.
And like I think the thing with it being if you're a support or a clover that has this as like an offhand thing, that hurts because it's for experience, right? Like that's the part that's like
Mm-hmm.
I don't really want to dedicate, potentially 8 experience to a thing that's not really my role, a thing that's more someone else's
Yeah.
role. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's just if it was level 3, I think I would really be happy with it. Maybe it'll get
Yeah, it's
maybe it'll get
forced
unchained
too
or
much.
something like that in a new taboo update. But I'm not going to hold my breath.
And I get that it's cheaper for mystics because they have all those nifty ways of upgrading spells and stuff. But it's also just like there are other car. I mean, you could get shriveling level 3.
Yeah, yeah. I think maybe I'm selling myself on the idea of like this is a one-off in my like I start with the level 0 version as a one-off in like a seeker deck that can take it. Like Norman Withers is actually where I'm going, and I have like those XP generation cards that like decrease upgrade costs, right? And then maybe like
Yeah.
I upgrade it to this level 4 version for basically free, and that feels okay.
Hmm.
Maybe there's something there.
Yeah. That could potentially work.
Yeah.
It's definitely not as bad as the level 0 version, but it is just 4 XP and still a random chance.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, all right, let's talk about Sixth Sense level 4 because this is a better card. It costs 3. It commits for 2 intellect symbols, is the spell trait, and takes an arcane slot, and has the action investigate. Investigate using willpower instead of intellect. You get +2 willpower for this investigation. If a skull, cultist, tablet, or elder thing symbol is revealed during this test, you may choose a revealed location up to 2 connections away from your location, and you are now investigating as if you were at the chosen location in addition to your location. You may use either shroud value. So, you do get 2 clues if you can reveal a token. One from your location, one from a different location, which is not just situationally better than like reducing the health and dealing a damage. It's just better.
Yeah, why isn't Wither like if you reveal a symbol token, you get to deal damage to an enemy up to 2 locations away?
Thematically, it doesn't really make sense, I guess, is my answer to that. But yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah.
That would be really cool. Yeah, I like that. I would play that card, honestly. Like that feels so much more in line with what I want to do is like shock an enemy at my location and then like carry damage over to another enemy at a further away location. That seems super fun and I wish this card did that now. Why would you say that?
Actually, I got an even better one for you. What if Wither, instead of -1 health, it was -1 damage and horror from the enemy's attack values? So that way, if it's an enemy that does a low enough attack value, you could hit it with it, and then it can't even hurt. Like, it's still attacking you for attacks of opportunity or whatever, but it doesn't do any damage until the end of the round.
Yeah.
Then it's like, then it would, like, you're just debuffing him. You're dealing a little bit of damage, you debuff, and then you go about your turn, and then next turn you could hit him again and finish him off or whatever.
Yeah, we were talking before we started recording about how much I love Mind Wipe 3, and that's just like basically the text from Mind Wipe 3, and I love it. So, yeah, that's what I want. Just them to. I'd love to have more support for that style of play. We've seen it recently in like the Rod of Carnimogos and the Feast of Hemlock Vale, where they give like enemies -1 fight and -1 evade for one of those Rod events. And then there's another one that's like you can't attack or something like that. But I'd love to see more of that sort of style of Mystic play where it's like you're reducing damage and horror values instead of just straight up dodging attacks or doing damage. It's like the idea of decaying and making an enemy weaker instead of just beating them to the ground like a guardian or a survivor or a rogue would. Yeah, I'm into that idea.
The funny thing is, I not to like drag us back to Wither, but the whole thing is with Wither, there's so many ways you can design this card. But I don't feel like Sixth Sense has quite as many options. It's like you could give it minus a Shroud, I guess. That would work. That would have been fine, actually. That probably would have been helpful, because then you could debuff a location for another player. But instead, it's like, here, get you your bonus clue. And you're like, cool. That's like a permanent thing that I just got. That's like solving a problem.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. And I kind of do wish, like, because they already have that kind of built into Sixth Sense as well, where it's like you can use either location Shroud. Like, so you do just use the one that's less. So you're already reducing the Shroud value, probably. I do kind of wish they'd just kind of done something with that, where it is Shroud Reduction. Because Shroud Reduction is also cool. And there's cool things you can do with Shroud Reduction now. But it's fine. It's okay. I'm not upset.
Yeah, the 4 XP getting you an extra clue or an extra damage, that makes sense. But it's like, the way they give it to you is just totally not equal. And then the Sixth Sense, like...
Yeah.
Because you can just be so... I think we said this last time. You can just leisurely investigate with it, and then when the occasion shows up that you get the symbol, then you get an extra clue. Hurrah. Like, you don't need it. It's just nice.
Yeah. Which is, that's kind of a conversation about, like, the urgency of doing damage versus the urgency of getting clues, I think, as well. But... that's why I think this like dynamic exists for Sixth Sense is good and Wither is kind of bad. It's because like there's a misunderstanding of the urgency needed when you're attacking versus when you're investigating. If they had flipped these urgencies, so like the benefit you get from drawing a token in Wither was just good and responded to an urgent situation versus the benefit you got from Sixth Sense when you drew a token was just kind of passively okay. That would make a more balanced feeling suite of cards. But instead we have a very minimal effect in Wither that's kind of fine if you can get it to pop off, and a very good effect in Sixth Sense that's always just going to be good.
Yeah, sometimes you gotta... It just feels like they didn't contemplate Wither enough to make sure and like play test it and kind of go through and be like, is this really like a practical card like that someone's going to use? Whereas like Sixth Sense didn't need that. You can just write down the text and like we have other ways to alter it, the ideas we come up with, but it doesn't need it. It works fine. But like Wither just does not.
It might work fine. I honestly think this one works better than I give it credit for. And maybe it is just like designed with the idea of like getting your XP reduction costs in line, but yeah, it's hard to look at both these cards in the same slide and be like, one of these is so good and one of these is Wither.
One of these is not like the other.
Yeah. So maybe it's our problem for actually like formatting it like this in this video. If we just were talking, I don't know. It's never mind. I'm gonna stop.
Well, no, because that's how they were released as a pack together.
Originally, yeah. Now they're kind of a little bit different, but we're just living in the past. We should move on. We should move on. I feel like I've talked about these cards more than any other cards in this game over the course of not just this campaign.
Agreed. Look at them.
All right, Survivor cards.
Okay, Survivor cards. We have Lore and Eucatastrophe. So Lore is a level 2 1-cost event. It commits for 2 agility icons. It's a trick traded and has the text attached to your location or to a connecting location. During the enemy phase, each enemy that moves does so along the shortest path towards the attached location, instead of to where it would normally move. Forced while attached at the end of the round, discard Lure. So this goes back to that card we were talking about last pack, about like manipulating where enemies move around and stuff. So they have like pieces to it here. I think what they needed to do was make an asset that's interested in your cards on locations that can give you some kind of benefit. So that way all this like moving enemies around would make more sense. Like I don't know. I don't know what that would look like, but it just feels like you need an asset that's a tool that enables these other cards to actually do something, because otherwise they're kind of trash.
Something I'm interested in this card is now that patrol is becoming more of a relevant keyword, like this triggers patrol and hunter both. And I think that is kind of an
Hmm.
interesting kind of aspect of it because sometimes like patrol is becoming more and more of a thing. It's like, oh god, I don't want that enemy to get to that location. What if you just lure him to another location? And now that's kind of cool. I'm kind of into that as an idea. Um, I don't know. I've never actually played
Yeah,
this
that is
card
cool.
though. Like that's kind of the issue I have with it is
Oh, interesting.
I
So
kind of
I did play this one. Go ahead.
no. You tell me your story.
Okay, so I don't actually know if this is a legal move because it was somewhat earlier on when I was playing the game when I saw this hit the table. But we used it against the because it doesn't say non-elite,
Oh my gosh, it doesn't.
so you can manipulate elites with this. So we used it to manipulate the boss in the Dunwich Legacy, the experiment, and we had him, which I don't know that you can do because I feel like doesn't he move in Mythos phase and this says enemy phase. But I feel like I checked it like 3 or 4 times because I was like, "There's no way this card can manipulate this boss." And when I played it at the time, it totally seemed like it could. And so we sent him like off in the wrong direction, which bought us like 3 extra turns. It was great.
Yeah, that's crazy. I didn't see the non-elite or no non-elite on this. That does change a lot. I think that's interesting.
Isn't that weird too? Of all the cards that would get like it can target elites, I would not expect this because there's very like, oh no, those elites don't let because we might have to move them because of the story or whatever. But this, you can just manipulate elites and tell them to
You
go.
can just send Yig back where he came from and be like, no, over there, Yig.
Yeah, you could tell Yig to just
That's
go
wild.
screw himself somewhere else.
I am suddenly so much more interested in this card. That's insane. I did not parse that at all. Okay, I'm gonna have to play this.
This probably would have been good in my Stella deck where I was like surrounded by enemies. I could have like used all my actions to evade everyone, move, and then like they get up, and then I slap down lure, and then run again, and then have everybody just go off to a different random location. That would have totally helped in Depths of Yoth.
Yeah, because you can even just have them move to the location they're already on, so they basically just hunt to that location instead, right? If I'm reading that correctly.
I think so.
If lure is on their location, a hunter location's enemy, and it would move in hunter in enemy phase, it would just stay there. Is that a correct
Yep.
reading of that? That's crazy.
Yeah, because it says it's where it would normally move to. So
Yeah, that's pretty cool. All right, I wrote this card off, and I've made a mistake. I want to play this card now. Cool.
the thing is, I've not really played it since then, but I gotta just remember who are the elites and what are they trying to do, because this could potentially really help you against an elite,
Yeah, yeah.
because it massively slowed him down. Like it took him forever to catch up to us. We had all the time in the world. We were just collecting clues, dealing with problems, getting VP,
Oh
and he
man,
was just like sluggishly made his way back down. It
I'm
was so
thinking I'm
funny.
thinking about this in Innsmouth too, where you're already trying to avoid like those on engage effects from deep ones, and there's some pretty hefty elites in that scenario in that campaign as well that you can just. I'm thinking like that one scenario where there's like the barricades or whatever. You're still adjacent to that location, but you can like really
Oh
screw
my
them up.
god.
Yeah. Okay, that's the.
I'm gonna take this the next time we
No,
play through
I'm gonna
Innsmouth.
take it.
Well, one of us is going to take this because
Yeah.
yeah, we have to do it. That would be
That'd be great.
fantastic.
That'd be so good. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Cool. Cool.
Oh
Cool.
my gosh.
Uh,
Okay, so you catastrophe. I'll handle this one. So this is a level 3 event. It's 2 cost. It commits for 2 wild symbols, and it has the fortune and blessed traits. And it has the text fast when you would reveal a chaos token that would reduce your skill value to 0 during the skill test, including the autofail token. Cancel that token and treat it as an elder sign token instead.
this is just a great card. I love this card.
Yeah, it's like a super powered lucky.
Yeah. Yeah, or a very underpowered Seal the Elder Sign.
Yeah. Um,
This is a tabooed card. I
I
think it's
don't.
supposed to remove from the game. Yeah, am I correct in that?
Okay, probably. Yeah.
Let me double check
It's
that.
weird that this is one of the strangest cards that they repurposed or that they put in the return to, or I mean the
The
revised
revised.
core set. I have no clue why they picked this card of all cards. I guess they were just thinking like it would be good for survivors to have like for the players to have access to something that was just get away from the auto fail token permanently.
Hmm.
But I kind of just disagree with that. In fact, I don't even know that I like that it cancels the auto fail. I mean, of course I like it, but I just don't know. I don't know. I just don't know. I feel like it should like exile itself if it's going to cancel the auto fail token, and
The
then maybe make it like
Yeah, so the
good.
taboo is that it does get removed from the game, which is not exiling because they couldn't put that in the core set anyways because they don't have the rules for exile in the core set. Um,
Hmm.
but
But I mean, it they put lore in the core set or something.
maybe honestly, more people would play with it. Lure is now my new underrated card, just because. Anyway, no, I don't know. I think like it's a power that is worth having players understand immediately. And it is like a more complicated card because it actually has you say like, okay, when it makes you check and say like, okay, when is my skill value actually reduced to zero, right? Like it has to be that. Um,
Hmm.
and
Okay.
and it is a teaching moment that says like, hey, when you draw the autofill, that reduces your skill value to zero. So it is a very teaching card as well. Um,
Oh, I see. Okay,
I think that's the rationale for putting it in the core set.
that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know. Outside of that, I just like this card. I think it's cool that um, that it lets you like do some things with people that have like really interesting elder signs to like kind of just help support them. I've played it a lot in like Will Yorick, played it a lot in Father Mateo because blessed,
Hmm.
um, and I've played it in I think Silas as well as just like those things that are like one of those weird one-offs where sometimes you're just like, I need a skill back. I guess I'll just investigate. Probably fail. Oh, but wait, no, I have a catastrophe instead, and I get my skill back for my discard pile. So that's I don't know. It's just like a really good card that like really rewards you for thinking about how to use it. Um, and I think it's
Hmm.
fairly costed. Like two cost and three experience is not nothing. It's more expensive than lucky,
Yeah,
and
definitely.
should be. Yeah.
Yeah, it should be. Yeah, I guess I forget the part where your skill value has to be zero because you might pull like a -2 and fail, but you're failing by like one or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then it's like it doesn't work. So I guess I didn't think of that clause. But yeah, I guess I don't know. If for whatever reason it feels easy, and I look at this as just like a straight up cancel the autofail token card, because that's probably what I would save it for. And that's not like a it's not a bad thing, I guess. I just because I always like the idea of canceling the autofail, but I also want it to be that really rare thing that you get to do, and there should be like a big cost to it. Like Wendy can do it just innately through her
I
ability,
was about to say
but
like, don't you like Wendy?
I do love Wendy, and that's why I like her so much, is she can cancel the autofill. But the thing is when you're playing, so when I'm playing Wendy solo, and being able to cancel the autofill is like this is why I like her so much, is because it lets me play the game. Sometimes I'm playing someone else and I just get thrashed because there's just always that chance, and it does happen. And then when it does, I'm
Hmm.
just like I can't get out of this mess. But with Wendy, it costs me a card. And that sounds like an easy price to pay, but it really isn't when you're playing solo because you're counting on your whole hand helping you get through every single situation. You don't
This
have
is
allies to back you
this
up.
is a card. This costs a card and two resources. This is more expensive than Wendy's ability.
Yeah, but I don't want to just give everybody Wendy's ability to everybody. That's what makes her special.
This isn't just Wendy's ability. This is a much more like Wendy's ability like is a lot less situational.
Well, she's situational across the game because you have to select her. Whereas,
Okay.
I mean, to be fair, this is 3 XP, so it's not like it's pretty much just survivors doing this, and
Yeah.
then Father Mateo because he can take blast.
And we'll
So
let
I do appreciate that it's not two because then it would be like, now it
Hmm.
feels like almost everybody can cancel the autofill at win.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think it's fairly priced. I honestly could even see it going up to being a level 4 card. But I'm kind of happy it
Yeah.
isn't because I like to play with it, and sometimes level 4 cards become this thing, especially level 4 events where I'm just like, I'm not going to play that. Like, that's going to happen once, and that's not going to do enough.
Hmm. Yeah. Do you feel like Exile would have been appropriate for this particular card or no?
I don't think I want
It's
this to
hard because
exile. Yeah, I think if there was like a level 2 version of this card that like did not include the autofail and could exile, like that might be something I would say.
oh, okay.
But I think I wouldn't really want that to be level 2. Like I'd want it to be level 3 unchained 1 XP or something like that. Which is just like that's
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
yeah, it's too jargony. So no, I think like yeah, no, I think this is good. I really like where this card is. I still don't see it get played a lot, but when I do, it gets to be this big like fancy moment. I think that's like where I want cards like this to live.
Mm. Well, yeah, especially if you're Father Mateo. And I think if you're playing it in him, I'm not gonna bat an eye because he's a fairly weak investigator and he needs every card he can get that helps him
And
trigger his Elder
has
Sign.
yeah, that's his niche now is like play elder sign support. Yeah,
Yeah, it's cool.
yeah.
Because for him, he doesn't break the game when he pulls his Elder Sign. It's just like that's the way he leverages his success.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so mixed thoughts, I guess, on it. It just feels, I don't know, but it feels, I don't like love the card, but like, I don't know. I don't really play it with it that much
Yeah.
either, and I don't really see it hit the table like you said. I don't know why people don't play it that often. It seems really strong.
I think it's a
Cancel the
lot more.
autofill.
It's a lot more situational than you think it is. Like you have to draw the autofill when you have it in hand, have 2 resources to cancel it, right? Like
Yeah.
it's more of a thing that I think is difficult to jump through those hoops than you think it is. Honestly, when
Yeah.
I've played it in the past, mostly it's been like if I'm doing like Silas or I'm doing Will, I have 2 intellect and I'll be like, I want to activate my Elder Sign right now, so I'm gonna take a random investigation test, hopefully draw a -2 and get reduced to 0. And then sometimes I'll just
I
fail
see.
because I drew a -1, and I'm like, well, crap. I guess I don't get to do that, and I just wasted an action. So I don't know. There's still like enough
Now
other
it's like,
cards that.
look what I found. This is why I hate it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, sometimes it is. Look what I found too. Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
Although combining those
I
two. All right. Last slide, I believe. I guess I don't think there's any neutral cards in this pack. We have the rogue cards, and these are some of the coolest cards. I love these cards, so I'm going to talk about them. First, we have You Owe Me One, which is the 0 cost level 0 event that is favoring Gambit, traded and commits for everything but a willpower. Text is look at another investigator's hand. You may play a non weakness card in that investigator's hand under your control. If you do, you and that investigator each draw 1 card.
Such a cool card.
It's so fun.
Have you
Like,
ever played it though?
yes, I have. And actually,
Okay, okay.
sometimes, like, most of the time, it's, like, not great. But sometimes, like, it's like someone has, like, an extra, fingerprint kit or 45 or something, and I'm playing, like, the flex in the scenario, and I'm just like, yeah, I'll buy that off of you right now. And we'll both get a card because you just had an extra copy of whatever. And it's
Hmm.
fantastic. Most of the time, it's like, you don't want this card? Cool, I'll play it, and then we can both draw a card because I'm a rogue and have money. Like,
Yeah.
that's mostly what it is, but, like, yeah, no, I play it a lot. And it's good, like, if you're playing, like, a crystallizer deck because it commits for everything but a willpower. Um, it's replaces itself. I just really like this card, yeah. It's better. Obviously, it's going to be better in, like, higher player counts. Like, I don't think I would play
Yeah.
it typically at 2, especially uh, if I have like we're very specialized roles. But if I when I get the chance to play 3 player or 4 player and I get to be a flex or a support, if I have access to this card, I usually throw at least one of it in.
I think I don't play it because usually when I play, everyone is specialists.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no room for like a weird, quirky effect like this. But I love the fact that it exists. I think it's a really cool, nifty thing to do. I can just never trigger it. It's just never beneficial to do so. I'm always just looking at it going, I should just do something else. It's
Mm.
such a better option.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's probably with the problem with the way my table builds decks rather than with the card.
Well, and I think like also the more fun way to play this game is to not tell each other what you have in your hand. And
Mm-hmm.
this card basically says like, hey, you might just not be getting anything out of this if you just play it without talking about to your team about whether or not you're going to play it. Right? So
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
that is like that's the thing that I don't like about it is sometimes I have to be like, does anyone have anything in their hand that they want me to have? And then they're like, you owe me one, don't you? And I'm like, yeah. So that's like the part that I'm
Yeah.
like not super excited about that I do have to have that moment of just like, hey, I'm going to break our immersion in the game to be like because I want to actually do something with this card. Um
That doesn't break the immersion for me, although I understand why it does for other people. To me, I just see it as like it's like we're building. It's almost like a play in rehearsal. Arkham is where you're
mhm.
playing the scenario, but you're also like having to do the rehearsal at the same time, and that's because you have to manage all the rules. You have to do all the setup. So I'm like, I already have to do these other things. So like me just announcing something in my hand is not like the end of the world. But at the same time, it would be interesting to play a game that's dedicated to you cannot say what you have in your hand whatsoever, especially at a large table of people you don't know, and then to just throw this in and be like, all right, somebody owes me something, and then choose a player.
Yeah, this is another one of those cards that I think like would be more fun if it had like the hidden or peril keywords.
It's hidden apparel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Huh.
but not better, right? Like, or dilemma. If this was a dilemma, that would be kind of interesting as well.
You draw and you have to do it right away.
Yeah,
It could work as
exactly.
a dilemma. I see that.
I would love that. Those are like keywords that I think like are or I guess mechanics that are actively not good for the players to have to deal with, but I love them so much because I like it when my deck punches me. Um,
Yeah, I actually have had fun with the dilemma cards that you were using this campaign.
yeah,
I was like, this is interesting.
yeah,
Like, even though they didn't always benefit, it was or like benefit in the way that you would hope. It was still like, oh, I guess this is happening now, and it just made the game a little more exciting
yeah.
because we had to like that your deck was more alive.
Yeah, yeah, we've become kind of jaded in the way we play Arkham, and now we just need some dilemmas to shake up our play pattern a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. All right,
um,
so tell me about Double Double.
yeah, Double Double is also a fun card. It is a 4-cost level 4 exceptional asset, which means it actually costs 8 experience to put into your deck. It has the ritual trait and takes up an arcane slot. Commits for a willpower and an intellect, and has the text reaction after you play an event. Exhaust Double Double. Play that event again as if it were in your hand.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I love this card. It's so much fun. It's also good. Like sometimes, like you have
Seems great.
yeah. Sometimes you have a fun card that's like not very good, and sometimes you have a good card that's not very fun. And Double Double is just a good card that's also fun. So, yeah,
Mhm.
play with this card. You don't even have to build too much around it. As long as you're playing like some events, you'll get value out of this. Like I've doubled my emergency caches and felt really good about it because turns
Yeah,
out
you get 6
getting
resources.
six
That's great.
resources is great. Yeah.
For
um,
an action, I'll take it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And that's I think probably the most popular event in the game is emergency cache. So yeah, just whatever you want to do. Double your Yomi ones to look at both of the people you're playing with's hands and play cards from them. And give everyone extra cards. Honestly, that would be great.
Yeah, so every time I go to play this card, I wonder about what events I want to play off of it. And when I do, I always go down some rabbit hole where someone tries to break the game with some ludicrous like pairing, and then I have to like read through it, how if it's like legal, if it's even worth it, and then it just becomes too much of a headache, and so I just don't bother with it.
Yeah.
But I should probably stop that and just focus on like simple events that I like to play, and then just be like, yeah, like just play a Safina deck and just get a bunch of cool events and then throw this down and just go ham.
Yeah. I think my favorite events to play with double double are economy cards, which is boring, but like it makes them fun. It makes it fun to play an economy card because you're like, I do a voice of Ra. Ah, I only got 3 resources. I do a voice of Ra again. um, yeah. And like honestly, it's just kind of fun. Like just to double your card's effects and be like, wow, that was really good.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty sweet. And, rogues they don't really need their arcane slots that much. Although I suppose Sphina might. But then again, not really, because she loves events so much.
Yeah,
so
not really, I would say. And
yeah,
like, this is an exceptional card, so there's only going to be one of in your deck. I think
that's right.
That's the other, like, kind of...
Yeah, 8 XP. Ouch.
The exceptional keyword definitely hurts this card. I will say that. Yeah, it does. It's a lot harder to play.
That's what happens. I look for the justification then because of the cost is so high.
Yeah. I think it's worth it if you can get a pretty good, reliable way to tutor this out, which a lot of rogues have very tutorable effects. Safina also has Safina's a good shout because she has literally an opening hand of 13 cards, so you're seeing like almost half of her deck just in your opening hand. I'll say like things like Underworld support that reduce your deck size also play really well with exceptional cards because you only can have one of them anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a fun card. I think it's like heavily costed, but it's definitely something that's worth it if you can pay that cost and is worth. Yeah, it's just worth that cost. It's fun.
If you play this, if you play like a card like Kicking the Hornet's Nest that pulls up an enemy on your location, if you double it, that enemy will hit you from the double, will he not?
No. This does not have...
he doesn't.
This does not provoke attacks of opportunity because it's a reaction. It is not an additional action. You just play it again.
Oh, okay. That's what confused me about this card in the past.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't sure. It sounded like since I'm playing the card again that I would get hit. But I guess I wouldn't. So, yeah, okay. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so if you play an event
really
that is like has an engage action on it and you double that engage action, you don't take the hit from the enemy you engage the first time.
Okay. Yeah, that makes it better for sure. Mm-hmm. That really helps, knowing that you're buffered there.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool card. I'll have to try it.
It's a lot of fun. Okay, I'm pretty sure that we don't have any more cards, but I'm gonna hit the button just in case. No, we don't. We're good.
All right.
We're good on cards. So that's it for all of the Circle Undone cards. This being the final Mythos pack, and oh god, how do I sign this off now?
Well, so we're gonna do our retrospective next. After I don't know, have they seen? I don't know. YouTube time is weird, so I don't know if they've seen our final playthrough. But yeah, we've already recorded that.
Yeah.
So that has happened, and then we'll do our retrospective, and then we're probably gonna take a hiatus for a little while because we're both like gearing up for some job changes and some moves. So we are probably gonna be gone for the foreseeable future, but we'll still do our retrospective and then we'll give more information then.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's anything else, is there?
No, I think that's it. We know where we're going next, but we're not going to spoil that just in case this video comes out before our resolution of the campaign. But we'll be back with either the retrospective or with our final scenario next week. But until then...
Stay out of danger.